Okay. So we want to get into editing a player, and the editing the player actually would involve having to search for a player as well. Okay. So we might actually have to. Well, we could do a search option and editing player details. Let's see. When we click on tree, nothing happens because we don't have anything there. Yes, I like that idea. So Omar said that instead of having edit in the menu, we could just say search for a player, right? Yep. Search for a player. So we go and we search for a player, and then we could put here edit slash delete in a bracket next to it. Yes. So good stuff, Omar. No, I ain't going through all that. If you want to go on this, I teach it a little basics. If I'm going past that, I had to work that brain, all that brain energy and a little young, a little capable. Alright. Oh my God. It's like a brand new sentence. It's just, I swear, why is it that when the recording is going on? Avoid cell player, avoid. Actually, no. Search. Let's do the search and then we'll focus on naming whether we're selling somebody or not. Selling as into another football club. Alright. Please don't fire me if you viewing this video. I do not condone human trafficking in any way. Right, so we could name it player search. Player search. PlayerSearch. Player search. And we have this player search function. And maybe this player search function might return something it might not after we view what we see. But for now, we just make it a void function. And if it is that we have to pass it to the edit or delete function, pass the results, right? But we'll see how we structure that. Okay? Um, we want to be able to search for a player based on different criteria. The only criteria I'll work on right now is ID, first name or last name. This is where some of our string functions come in because we might know the whole name, right? So I want to be able to say, all right, maybe I can't remember Dalrymple's last name, but I know that it's DAL it starts with. I think that it's reasonable to put DAL into a search and get all the players that have DAL in the name, right? Maybe if somebody else has DAL in the name, then that will come up too. But then I could just select which one of them I want to use. That seems reasonable, right? So that's the route that we will take with searching for a player. Um, did it, did. Right, so we have to create this player search function. Once we hit 3, we will call the player search function. And of course, the player search function itself is going to be down here. We have to define it, void player search. And yes, hey, yeah. All right, player search. That's my good student from upper 6. So void player search, and we want to say, what's the first thing that we want to see? We have to ask, what do we ask? We have to ask, Right. So yeah, we ask the user, do you want to do a search by ID or name? So let's start off like that. Printf, do you want to search by ID or name? All right. And we could use numbers. Yeah, let's go by that. So let's say search by colon backslash n one ID backslash n two name backslash n. Please make your selection. All right, I didn't want to have a whole bunch of um, stuff. So I have int SEL, which will take my selection here. And again, this is another opportunity to use the message function. Because I could say now, when I take in scanf, all right, percent sign DE, and percent SEL, put a getcha underneath here, right? We always put a getcha after scanf. I know that I say that all the time, but then sometimes somebody might say, well, why my code behaving erratically? And then I look at your code and I realize that you leave out your getcha after your scanf, right? But that's not going to happen with you guys, not right? Of course. Right? Yeah, right. Because you all listen to what Mr. Valdez says. Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. That's that's probably students next year that I'm gonna have or something. So I'll have that problem. And Andre agrees fully. All right. So we make our selection. We have our if structure. We could have a switch case structure. Either one. I like to put switch case structures for these. I don't know why I like switches. Switch SEL, right? And inside of my switch, put case one, right? And a break, and a case two, and a break, and the default, and a break. Okay? You could use an if statement here. It makes no difference between if you use a switch case or if statement. I just prefer in these instances to use a switch case, right? With what, the case? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So then if the default is if you don't enter 1 or 2 into the number, so then you will have to put message, and we could put message 3. And then we can go to the message function, all right, message function, and then we could say else if m is equal to 3. I put 3. This is supposed to be 2. Sorry. All right. Or actually, we could use the same M1 because it's an incorrect value message. So, hey, there we go. We saved ourselves some typing. So it's the same message that you would have get from M1. And at this point, you know that all that's going to happen is this is going to show up and this message is going to show, but I like to test at this point. Let's test and see if we can get that error message to come up. So let's press 3 and it asks us to search by ID or name. And I put 6 and it didn't come up as we wanted it to. And it actually, wow. No, I just I came out of code blocks. Yeah. No. Once you compile it, saved. So you see. All right. What was the name of it? SBA example. Huh? I'm not going to encourage you. Once you reach quitting from a compilation and not from a typing session, right? Right, just see. All right, so how could we get this prompt to loop rather than to jump back to the menu? Okay, because I want to get the message telling us, and let me see something with the messages function. All right, maybe at the end of the message function, I could put a get char here so that I know that my message will always pause. All right, as it is right here, if we search for a player and we put 7, okay, you have entered a incorrect value. Please retry. But then it jumps me back out to the menu. Do I really want to go back to the menu? Huh? Punishment. Yeah, you all becoming programmers. You all becoming sadistic and bitter. Alright. There was a at one point online. I don't think it runs as a thing. There was a like a forum called Bastard Operator from Hell. Um, yeah, he was a system administrator, and like he used to post stories about how he used to punish users of his system for making stupid mistakes and right. Uh-huh. Let us not punish. Ah. I've I've seen it. Let me see. No, technically no, you won't. As long as the messages are still helpful, right? Ah, just how about you put it in like an Easter egg with as like maybe you set a random value, and if two random values match, right? So 1 out of 100 times a message like you notice show what will come up instead of I would not I wouldn't encourage the constant abuse, but you could say that you did it for testing purposes and huh? Uh-huh. Because you have to comfort yourself in the fact that all users are stupid. Alright? So no, you see, it's a difference between telling somebody they're stupid and designing a system knowing that somebody is stupid. Ah. Right. The sad part is you have to keep the angst inside of you. Right? Let the hate fuel you for the next program. Uh, let's all right, we can it's how easy it roll off on your tongue, punish the user for yes. All right. So again, we searching, we leaving the punishment right now, ID or name, right? So we know that if the ID or name come up, we have to do two different approaches. If we searching by ID, if we searching by ID, then we are comparing in the structure against the ID field. If we comparing by name, then we are either comparing by first name or last name. Let's do the ID search first because that's just a simple comparison. Okay? So it'll be easy to compare all values here. So in case one, right, we'll print out, let me put a space here because that was bothering me. Right? We say printf what? Please enter an ID number. Okay, so please enter an ID number. Now, ideally, we can, all right, we'll print it out and then we'll come up with a way to access the ID numbers so that we could then move into a search or delete or a edit or not search or delete or editor, a edit or delete or something. So we just want the person's information to print out right now, right? So printer, please enter an ID number to search for, and we will say scanf, and we have to name this ID number. So we could name it ID key, right? The word key is used for whenever you have some search key, so let's keep with using it. So we're storing what the user put in into ID key, %D, ampersand ID key, and once this is saved, we now have to loop through. We know how many values we've read from the file. That data is stored in what? In list underscore I. So again, we could take a counter, so favorite counter is I, right? We could say for I is equal to 0, semicolon, I is less than list underscore I, semicolon, I plus plus. What do we do for every value here? We compare the ID value at list at position I against the search key. List at position I dot ID against the search key. So we say if what? If list at position I, not list at position I, right? List at position I being the counter, dot ID is the same as ID underscore key. What do we want to do? We want to display this user's information. Okay? So it might be useful to have a function maybe later on called display user or something. So, but we'll just print it out. It's one line either way. Right? Printf, what you call it? %D dash %S %S. Alright, and in brackets we could put %S, which will be this person's list at position I dot ID, comma list at position I dot first name, last name, first name, comma list at position I dot last name dot L underscore name, comma list at position I dot pause position. So we print out that information. For this one, we could break, which means stop going through once we found it. Why would we stop going through once we found it? Yeah, exactly. There is only one person with that ID. So once we display this ID information, then there's no need to continue. Yeah. All right. I'll put a get char down here. Do I want to put a get char down there, boy? Huh? Yeah. Again, that stuff I'm looking for you to do. I just doing the basics. Because once we have the basics, you could jump off of this and do anything you want. Nah, again, as you guys say, punish the user. Right? Yeah. The, the next thing that we could get into is you always leave space in your program for them to pay for more in the future. All right. We call that the Apple philosophy. Okay. No, no, that's ensuring that you stay in business. You know. So let me ask a question. Did the user ask for that? No. So yeah. Look out for the ability in version 2.0. Uh, so there was also again a trick from Bastard Operator from Hell was there was a period in work where he had the system running smoothly and people started wondering, well, why we paying this guy if it is that the system running smoothly. So as a he write a couple of scripts to take down the system at intermittent periods so that people will be able to call him and say, well, yeah, we have an issue, so that we can. All right, so don't do your job too well. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I respect the hustle. If things work too well, they'll ask, well, why we need this guy around? Right? But if you do it too often, they will also ask, well, why we have you around? So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just kind of remind them that you're there. uh, it come like again the same again. I know I'm bashing Apple, but Apple and the planned obsolescence, where on devices, most of the devices seem to bug out after two OS upgrades. Uh, huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. We don't want you being poor with our products. I think that they do. They do. Well, you see, so you can have what? Yeah, well, yeah, that battery thing is a hustle too. Anyway, all right. So what we're gonna do here? Let's view all players and see who's in the system. So we have some persons in the system. We know that we have numbers 101, 103, 107, whatever. Let's go now and search for 110. So we go search. We want to search by ID 110. All right. Okay, it's just kind of jumping out. It probably printed it, but it. All right. I didn't have the I get you here. So it didn't pause screen output. So we have search ID 110. Hey, why am I still jumping out? All right. I feel like I have a scanf without a getcha somewhere because it should not be jumping like that. Let me just see getcha at the bottom here. Three, 110. We have a 110 in there, right? Yes. 3, 1. Oh, it actually did. All right. So we have to figure out where we getting that 3, 1, 1. somewhere we have input taking place that is extraneous. It's from the which get? From which one? No, we use gets, but we didn't have to go anywhere with that so far. Oh look, I didn't put a getcha after this. That's what was probably causing that issue. Alright. So after that long tirade Mr. Valdez had about not forgetting getchas and the problems that it could cause, sometimes it's the word sorry is tossed around for accusations that was you know yeah. No. Even better, this was a test and I'm disappointed. You guys, I left it out purposely. Right? I had my whole spiel, and then I went on and I typed it, and nobody picked it up. Alright? See, you never see before. The only person who has an excuse is Uma, because I was narrating. Alright? But I'm gonna look at one of you all, and like I'll look at Nissa, and I'll just shake my head. Alright? This time I was hoping, I was so hoping that you would have pointed out. Uh, all right. So new rule, right? If something like that happens again, along with the I'm disappointed speech, I'm just gonna start swinging my belt. Your glasses are working. All right. All right. So this was the issue here. So I'm gonna take out this getcha hopefully and see if it works there. 3 1 110. It's still sticking. Yeah. Because I actually don't have a getcha again after here. So why am I feeling like this today? Uh, Too little, too late. Alright. Alright, you know what they say in programming? The 8 times the charm. So 3 1 110. Alright. The 9th times the charm. Alright, why is this giving so much trouble right now? No. You think? And then the oh no, it's before the break statement here. Alright, let's where are you suggesting we put it? After here? No, we're jumping out of the 4. Let's put it here. Okay. Alright, let's see. Alright. So this is the what why am I did I delete a bracket here? Alright. Where? Hmm? It should work like perfect now. Let's see. 3 1 110. It didn't print up anything. 110. It has a 110. Oh, sorry. I'm in the wrong place altogether now. 3 1. What in the world? 3 1. No, I know exactly why it's not working. I do. I do. No, I do. I figured it out. Y'all, no, I'm honest. I know why it's not working at this point. Y'all didn't realize what we didn't do? Some extremely simple, embarrassing, really. No. What did I say we're supposed to do at the beginning of every function? No. What if we go directly to this? What data are we searching? We never load the data up. We never read the file. So remember, and that is because you realize that it only worked actually when I did the thing where I viewed the file and then I went back and tried to search for it. Because when I viewed the file, then it did a read file and the value of list I would have changed there. But if I started off list I by default is 0 and no data was read from the file. So actually it's working. It's just working on no data loaded up. So we have to, at the beginning, read players. I'm fairly certain it will work now. 3. That's what they say in programming, the 11 times the charm. Right? 1, 110. Oh, hey. If it is that we went through it, but without having to start over, it counts as 1. Right? All of a sudden, you're into iteration and keeping track and all of that. Right? All right. So now actually we might have too many, we could take off this getcha. Okay, because we have the getcha, we could put the getcha here, this getcha here should catch it. Let's try that and see. 3, 1, 110. Yeah, and now enter will carry us back. Okay? So this is one thing. Okay, this is one thing. So we have that search working. And we could use the next search, right? But the next search, which would be for the names, etc., might it might have us in a situation where we, as I said with the example with Dalrymple's name, right? If we search for, let's say, a substring, then it might give us multiple persons. Or what if there are multiple people with the same name in the file, right? If we had another Brandon in the file and we search for the whole name Brandon, then again, it'll return more than one result. In that case, you're going to have to ask the user to say, okay, which one of these persons specifically do you want to go on to edit or delete? Okay? But let's take it one step at a time and see if we could get the search for when we have a name. So just like before, we're going to ask the user to enter not an ID number but a name, but I don't want to type out everything, so I'm going to copy and paste. Please enter a name to search for, and this will now be, right, we have to have an array, char name key. How long a name is? About 30 characters. Right? And we'll store the name into name key using fgets. Fgets name key. The size of it is 30. We're taking it from the standard input stream, which is the keyboard. And what do we do from there? We have to remove the last character. So we say name underscore key at position strlen for name key -1 minus 1 is equal to backslash 0, right? So we clear the backslash n character, or you could have just used gets and have it simpler. Once we do this, we want to start comparing. Let's start comparing by simple comparison. We could compare using strcmp. And we know how strcmp works, right? strcmp, if you put in two values, if it returns a 0, then it means that it's true. So we do the same thing. We essentially have the same loop here. We could use the same loop. Because we have to go through every name in the array. So we're going through every name in the array, searching for what? We're saying for I is equal to 0 up to the size of the array. And we want to say if strcmpi, right? Because next thing the user enters, we don't want case sensitivity. If the user enter, Mr. Name and have a capital N, right? Or they put in all caps, NYSSA, and in the file it's stored capital N and common YSSA. We still want it to match. Okay? So, even though a really good salesman could sell it so that, you make money twice off of this thing by saying, hey, we improved the search feature, right? But then you don't want to, it always comes back to Apple for me. Remember when Apple was telling people, I think it was one of the early iPhones, and it had the problem where people's hand was blocking the antenna. And then there's like, no, you're just holding it wrong. Internal antenna. But yeah, where the Apple engineers placed it, if you held the phone like this, right, with your palm like that, it was some people was reporting issues. And then Steve Jobs came out in one of his things and was like, no, are they just holding it wrong? And told people to hold the phone like that. Right? Yeah. And everybody was like, okay, so for a while, everybody who had an iPhone was holding it like this to talk. Right? Rather than like this. Well, yeah, that's like. Why are you making excuses for them? Yeah. This circle, yeah. No, but yeah. Why would you cover up that? I'm telling you, it's essentially that. Right? I'll tell you who was banned. No. No. Listen here, the only people who probably want to cover up the Apple logo on the phone is the people who have an Apple phone and traveling in maxis. So, well, oh God. If strcmpi for what? What are we comparing? We're comparing list at position I dot first name, and you're comparing it against the name key, or strcmpi for list at position I dot L name, and you're comparing that also against name key, right? Sorry, D is supposed to be, if that is equal to 0, or if this is equal to 0, then what do? Then you want to print out the same information like we had from the last one, but the difference here is that we might have to put a \n because we don't want multiple persons' information coming out on the same line. And the thing is, because you have multiple persons, who could have the same name, you're not breaking when you find that person's information. Because we want a situation, right, where we want to list out all the potential persons who have that name. I don't think we have any duplicate names in the file, do we? All right, no. But let's have a Keon Smith. So if we say Keon Smith, born on the 5th of the 8th, 2003, and who has a 102, right? Because this is a different key, right? And then I also want to have, let's change your position back. We also have another, and because I want to eventually test with the str. So we have Brandon, right? Dalrymple. That's huh? Alright. That's Brendan. Dalrymple. So we have a off-brand Dalrymple. That's quality. Brendan Dalrymple, right? And he's a water boy. So you got it. All right. So we have that player, and I think that we let's go and search, but let's just search. We're searching for the Andre first. So we're searching for a player. Excuse a second. A little bit. All right. So we have, let's just view everybody. We have everybody viewed on the system. We're going to search for a Keyon, Keyonn. All right. So we go on the player search. We say search by name. Enter the name K. Let's put it common Keyonn. And we did not put our getcha. So where are we going to put that getcha? We're going to put that getcha after the for loop because we don't want to have to press enter after everybody's name comes out. All right. So again, we search by name, Keyonn, and we have two persons coming out there. So from here, we could probably go on. If it is that you search by ID, you only have one data element to pass. But if you have this instance, you're going to have to ask the person, well, which ID number from the values returned do you want to go ahead and edit or delete? Okay? Enter. All right. Exit the system. Let's see if we let's see if we can put in the code with the str. All right. How does str work again? Yeah. Right. str works by returning either a null value, right, or a not null value. So we have to say if it is that the name key, if it is that the name key, let's say for instance we have this name key and we have a short string and we want to search for that string as a substring, we have to say or str, right? We have to put in what is it? Is it the substring first, boy, or is it the no? The substring goes second, right? Yes, it's string and then substring. So we put in the string that we're looking in first, list at position I dot huh? No, the larger string. Yeah, what is it? Yes. Don't call it a constant though, because in this instance it's not. Alright? So we're doing that for first name and we're doing it for last name. So comma, name underscore key, right? Once it is in equal to null. Or we have to do the same thing, but we can do the same thing for last name. Alright, so L. Okay? So we check against the substring now too. Right? And this is again, this is something that you could choose to do as a programmer. You could ask, you could put up a prompt and say, do you have the person's name? Or would you like to search by a part of the person's name? Or you could leave it like this where it is, it will, because some people's name might be, whole name might be, let's say if you have Pat and Patrice, and you're looking for a Pat, but in this case, Patrice will also come up because you have that as a substring. You wouldn't get Patrice from Pat. Sorry, you wouldn't get Pat from Patrice. Right, but you'll get, yeah, right, but that is with this substring included, right? With the strcmpi, it matches the whole name. So you would not have gotten Patrice from Pat with the strcmpi. You wouldn't need a else if in for that. Is that in this instance the only way you will need a else if is if you prompt the user to say, do you want a whole name search or do you want a um a substring search? Right? It's inconsequential. It's just about whether you want it or not. Okay? So let's see if it works. We have 3, we have 2, we say DAL, something didn't work. Let's try it again. I feel like I pressed enter twice. 3, 2, DAL. Oh, sorry, DAL. You see what happened there? Is that the substring, you have to have it, however, according to the case that it is in the file. Right? So the substring doesn't do ignore case. I wonder if you have a str. There is a str. Let's see. str. No, there is no str. So what you can do is there a 2 upper, boy? If it is that you're really, really committed to making sure that these names match, what you could do is that prior to passing it into here, you could get what list I at position L name is, and list I at position F name is, and you can convert that to all uppercase, and you can do the same for the name key, and you can compare the name key and the value for that was entered to search for, and it would work in that instance. I'm explaining how to do it, but I'm not going to do it now. Yeah. Right. But the thing is, let's say for instance, let's take a look at where is this players.txt. Hold on, let me open the file. All right. Let's look for we have I'm looking for a string, a lowercase string, even in the name ALR. Let's say ALR. In both cases, it has ALR. It'll work for ALR without any issue because if they enter, let's see sorry, you see, I would have got, according to all your program, I would have got cussed out because I entered 3 instead of 2 there. And it was just a mistake. Imagine having a sensitive user who make a simple mistake and the program say what happened is tripping. Uh, listen to this one. If they cry, they cry. ALR. Okay, so we found it based on that. But I mean, you know, it's easy to get it wrong. It's what, 1, 2 lines of code that you have to add to make it so that if it is that they enter part of the name, it's funny that they don't have a str in ignoring keys. It's kind of weird, but very good. I think that this is a good place to stop for today. We have any questions? Oh, that's I don't know. You should go get tested. Right? Personally, I find we could have continued till 4 o'clock, but you know, huh? 4 o'clock. We could have gone till 4 o'clock, right? We could have finished up this whole IA today and not worry about it because. Well, yeah, but you're coding your own with the help with an example.